Senator Rand Paul got up to speak, and one of the ways that he says we ought to deal with the refugee issue is this one.
Make no mistake, we have been attacked in the past by refugees or by people posing as refugees. The 2 Boston bombers were here as refugees. They didn't take very kindly to what we gave them, education, food, clothing, and they chose to attack our country. In Bowling Green, Kentucky, we had 2 Iraqi refugees who came through the refugee program, posing as refugees, and then promptly decided to buy Stinger missiles. Fortunately, they bought them from an FBI agent, and we caught them. But when we caught them, we discovered that their fingerprints were already on bomb fragments in Iraq in our database, and yet we had no clue and admitted them anyway. I think we have an insufficient process for knowing who's here legally and illegally. 11 million people in our country illegally. 40% of them have overstayed their visa. Do we know who they are? Do we know where they are? If we extrapolate those statistics to those who are visiting our country from the Middle East, do we know where the 150,000 students are who say they're going to school in our country from the Middle East? I don't think we do. I don't think we should continue adding people to the roles of those coming from the Middle East until we absolutely know who's in our country and what their intentions are. So my bill says this, my amendment says this, that we're not going to bring them here and put them on government assistance. When the poem beneath the Statue of Liberty says, "Give me your tired, give me your poor," it didn't say, "Come to our country and we'll put you on welfare." In those days, you came for opportunity. Many Christian churches have supported refugees. My church has supported refugees coming here. That's charity. But when you put them on welfare, that is not charity. We borrow $1 million a minute. We don't have enough money to do this. It's a threat to our national security. And my amendment would end the housing assistance for refugees in order to send a message to the president. The people have spoken. We are unhappy with your program. If you will not listen to the American people, we will take the money from the purse. Thank you, Mr. President.
And that's how it's done. The senator stands up and says, if you're not going to behave responsibility, we're going to take away your toys and we're going to defund you. Senator Rand Paul, that was a humdinger speech. Thank you for making it.
Well, it would be great, except for I'm being blocked by the Republicans and the Democrats from even getting a vote on my amendment. My amendment's 1 page. It's germane to the bill. If we get it pending, it can't be blocked, but they're blocking me from even getting it pending. And this is what's frustrating about Washington and why people are hopping mad at those in Washington who control the process. Can't even get a vote on this. They're not even going to let me find out where people stand. I've gotten over 1,000 phone calls on this. My phone calls are running 1,000 to 1 against letting more refugees in, and I'm being blocked by the leadership of both parties from bringing an amendment forward. And this is a crime. Somebody's got to stand up and say enough's enough.
Well, why, and I have to ask the expletive deleted question, why the blank are they blocking you?
They're afraid to vote on this.
Why?
It goes right to the heart of issue. What politicians want to do is they want to go home and say, oh, yeah, we shouldn't admit any more refugees, but they want to quietly block the vote so they don't have to actually vote on the issue. We can, at this point, tell the president he gets no money for this.
Why? It's a winning issue, Senator Paul. This is a winning issue on both sides of the aisle. Why the heck would they be afraid of defunding people who aren't even supposed to be here?
Because they're furniture, they're part of the system. They're unwilling to do anything, and the status quo has become so strong in this town that the place needs to be fumigated. This is a real problem. This is why people across the country are saying enough is enough, and I've had it up to here with this. My constituents, by the thousands, are calling me saying, we think that there's not adequate screening of refugees. we are concerned that some of these people have already come to Kentucky trying to attack us.
Well, I have to ask about that. That's important. I just was reading some of the news stories this morning. 8 Syrians have been caught on the Texas border in Laredo. 5 more Syrians arrested in Honduras with fake and stolen passports headed towards the United States. In your own state, Al-Qaeda smuggled in dozens of Iraqi former bomb makers, for Pete's sake. Nightline did and the FBI did a whole investigation on this. This is one of the easiest things it should be one of the easiest things to sell. You've got people with malevolent intent, with demonstrated capacity to do great amounts of evil. The biggest object lesson in our own history, of course, is 9/11. But you have Paris as well. I can't imagine. Well, okay, you say Senate leadership. That's your guy right across the aisle. I mean, you got Mr. McConnell. I mean, walk over to him and kick him in the shins, wake him up, poke him and grab him by the nostrils, do something to the varmint.
One of the things that people don't realize is President Obama saying, "Oh, it's only 10,000." You know what happens when 10,000 refugees from Syria get here? They all petition to have their families come over. So you add that and you multiply it by 4, and then those bring their families over. This 10,000 will turn into a couple 100,000 through family migration. And so this is a real problem. They all come and they're all put on welfare.
Well, you tried to do something about it. You tried to take away their welfare check, and you got nuked. That was an eloquent speech, Senator Paul. And I was sitting there cheering. That's all. You said everything that needed to be said, and then you say that you can't get it past that speech. It ended at the speech.
It's not over yet, Jan. We're gonna be part of the filibuster to stop this. Now there'll be a vote that'll happen within the next 24 hours, probably tomorrow morning. And people will get a chance. So I will get at least one vote, and that's whether or not I'll be allowed my amendment. And if people vote to end debate, that means they don't want to allow any debate on this, and they don't want to allow anything on this. So what we need is people across America to know that if people vote to end debate, it's called a cloture vote. It's called ending a filibuster. If they vote to end debate, they're voting against allowing my amendment on stopping the refugees from receiving welfare in our country.
Senator Rand Paul, I hope you are successful at this. Thank you for standing up and trying to do something about it. You said everything that needed to be said. That speech will be contained in the podcast of this program. It's up on the Internet now. People should look for it. It's one of the best 2-minute speeches you're ever going to hear that says common sense. It's distressing to hear that you can't get common sense past your own stinking party. It just drives me nuts.
We're going to keep fighting the battle, Jan. We'll see how it turns out. But right now, they're blocking us on both sides of the aisle.
Thank you for your time this morning, Senator Rand Paul. Appreciate it, sir. Bye-bye.